Have you ever stopped to think about how the decision regarding what happens to our bodies after death might go beyond what we imagine? The choice between burial and cremation involves more than just practical aspects and can touch upon matters of faith, culture, and even the question of what awaits us after this life. The question is intriguing. Could opting for cremation interfere with the promise of resurrection, a central tenet of Christian faith? This topic not only sparks curiosity, but also brings about many doubts and concerns. With cremation growing in popularity and becoming the preferred choice for many around the world, experts predict that, in a short time, around 70% of the population will choose this path over traditional burial. But what does this really mean for those who believe in the promises of the Bible? In this video, we'll delve deeply into what the Bible reveals on this subject, exploring 4 essential questions that can help you form an informed opinion aligned with your faith. Before we continue, I'd like to know your opinion. Have you ever considered cremation for yourself or a loved one? Leave your comment, share your perspective, and let's reflect together on this profound and timely topic. To start, it's important to understand what cremation really is and how the process works. Cremation is a practice that reduces the body to ashes through extreme heat, yet many people don't know the specifics. The first step involves preparing the body by removing any metal items, such as jewelry, prosthetics, or surgical plates, that could interfere with the process or the outcome. After this step, the body is placed in a special coffin made from material that can withstand high temperatures and is taken to the crematorium. There, it's placed in a furnace that can reach extremely high temperatures, up to around 1,000 degrees Celsius. This process isn't quick and can take several hours. During this period, the intense heat breaks down the tissues until only bone fragments remain. These fragments are then carefully ground down to create the fine powder we call ashes. Unlike common fire ashes, cremated ashes are primarily composed of bone minerals and are odorless, which might surprise some. Once the process is complete, the ashes are collected and placed in an urn, leaving it up to the family or the deceased person's own wishes to decide what to do next. The ashes may be kept at home, buried, scattered in a meaningful location, or even transformed into a memorial object. For some people, cremation represents a symbolic return to dust. But does this return align with biblical teachings? Is the respect for the body preserved? Or are we overlooking something important by considering this practice? The Bible offers several perspectives on the body and the respect it deserves. In Genesis 3:19, God says, "For dust you are, and to dust you shall return." This verse reflects our mortality and our connection to creation, emphasizing that we are part of the earth. Many Christians interpret this verse as a sign that, in some way, returning to dust is a natural and expected process, regardless of how it happens, whether by burial or cremation. However, even with this passage, the Bible does not directly mention cremation as a practice. What we do see in the Bible is the common custom of that time: burial. We see Abraham purchasing a cave to bury his wife Sarah, and Joseph asking for his bones to be taken to the Promised Land. These examples show that burial was a valued practice among God's people, but not a direct command from God. This opens a space for interpretation. Could cremation be a personal choice for each Christian? Or is there something deeper about burial that we should consider? This question prompts an important reflection on the respect for the physical body and how we view our choices in the context of faith. In the Bible, fire appears as an element loaded with symbolism, taking on different meanings. In several passages, fire represents divine presence and purification. For example, when Moses sees the burning bush in the desert, the fire symbolizes God's presence, a fire that, interestingly, does not consume the bush. Then, on Mount Carmel, when the prophet Elijah challenges the prophets of Baal, God's fire descends from heaven, completely consuming the sacrifice, the water, and even the altar, demonstrating to all God's presence and power. But fire is also used as a symbol of judgment and punishment in other passages. In Numbers 16, for example, God uses fire to consume 250 men who offered incense inappropriately. and in Leviticus 20:14, fire is mentioned as a form of punishment for certain transgressions. This ambiguity in the use of fire leads many Christians to question whether cremation, which uses fire to transform the body into ashes, truly honors or disrespects the body. Could the fire in cremation represent a form of purification and return to dust? Or is it that we fail to respect the body by undergoing this process? These doubts and reflections are essential for each Christian to interpret the meaning of fire within the context of their faith. And the question that remains is, to what extent does fire represent disrespect? Or is it a reflection of God's creation? Another factor influencing many people to consider cremation is the environmental issue. In times when environmental impact and sustainability are increasingly discussed, cremation is seen as a more sustainable alternative than traditional burial. Burial, in addition to using wooden coffins and embalming chemicals, also requires significant space in cemeteries. In densely populated areas and cities, this can be a real problem. Cremation, on the other hand, although it uses energy for the process, requires much less physical space. Studies show that traditional burials release methane, a greenhouse gas much more potent than carbon dioxide, while cremation has a lower environmental impact. And this is a point that leads many people to reflect on whether choosing cremation might also be an act of care for the planet. In addition to cremation, some green burial methods, like natural cemeteries, are being explored. These alternatives seek to respect the tradition of burial without compromising environmental preservation. From this perspective, could cremation be seen as a choice that unites respect for the body and care for God's creation? For many Christians, the biggest concern is whether cremation might interfere with the promise of resurrection. Resurrection is a central principle of the Christian faith. Jesus said in John 11 verse 25, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, even though they die, will live." This verse gives us hope, suggesting that resurrection does not depend on the physical condition of the body. In 1 Corinthians 15, the Apostle Paul goes further, explaining that in resurrection we will have glorified and incorruptible bodies, different from the physical bodies we have now. This means that the physical state of the body is not a limitation for God. He has the power to raise the dead, regardless of how the body was treated after death, whether cremated, buried, lost at sea, or any other situation. This understanding brings comfort to many Christians, as they see that resurrection does not depend on the chosen funeral method, but on divine promise and power. Thus, for those who believe, cremation does not compromise the promise of resurrection. The focus is on faith and trust in God, who is capable of fulfilling His work, regardless of the physical state of the body. This assurance can bring a new perspective on the topic and ease concerns about the choice between cremation or burial. In addition to theological and spiritual issues, the choice between cremation and burial also involves emotional and practical aspects. For some families, burial offers a physical place where they can visit and remember their loved ones, while cremation is seen as a more practical and financially accessible alternative. This decision profoundly affects the way family members relate to the loss and memory of the deceased. Talking with family members about this decision is essential, as a person's wishes may reflect values and beliefs, but they must also consider the impact it will have on those left behind. For those who are part of a church, seeking the support and guidance of a spiritual leader can help in making a calmer decision in harmony with faith and family values. Therefore, reflect on what you want for the final moment, talk to your family, and listen to their opinions. A well-thought-out and communicated decision brings peace to everyone and helps make the grieving process less difficult. After exploring what the Bible tells us and reflecting on the different aspects of cremation, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you consider cremation a valid choice for Christians? Leave your comment below and share your reflections. If this video was valuable to you, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Hit the bell to receive notifications for upcoming videos and share it with friends and family who might be interested in this topic. And before you leave, check out the next video appearing on the screen right now to continue exploring biblical and faith topics. Thank you so much for watching Illuminated Minutes, and may God bless you. See you next time.